hardware store this morning, which I typically don't go to the hardware store very often. But I got these. This are badass. They are 6 inches and they are for timber lock. So I'm going to use them to screw into the trees and hold the logs in place. So like that banister right there, I'm going to screw into with it and some things. So for instance here, I'm going to back out these 2 screws and use the lag bolts that go 6 inches into the tree rather than just the 3-inch screw. So. And I'm sure there are a group of you that are like, well, why didn't you just get them first? When it's 2 hours to go to a hardware store, you sometimes just do the project first and then figure out the stuff later. Alright, I'm going to try the impact wrench or the impact drill, because that's what everyone says to use. So we'll give it one more shot. I went ahead and marked it at the height of the log over there. And picking boards to make the other fence on the opposite side of the deck. And one thing I wanted to point out to you is these are all oak. In fact, the trees that I'm screwing into that are holding up the deck is oak. White oak cannot be used in boats. It can be damaged very easily with water. Red oak can actually be used to make boats. So if it's treated right and it's done right, it's such a tight enough grain that it's the same as like mahogany, not identical to mahogany, but it's a type of wood that you can actually use in the marine field, to make bulkheads and stuff like that. So it's an interesting thing. Now, I also went and got water sealer, and I also got a blowtorch. I'm going to see how they look when you burn them. I'm still going to seal them either way, just to seal it, just to make it last longer. And everyone's telling me the bugs will come if you don't. Go through and take the bark off and seal it, which is what I'll do that. I will. I'll go through and... No, not even... Probably a third of the way through the wood here. And I got this all loaded up. So a couple things about this. If you drop the boards from about a foot up in the air, the bark comes off. It's so much easier to debark the boards after you cut them. I'll show you some shots of me doing that 36-inch post. Took me hours. My tennis elbow acted up. It's one of those things where if you did it long enough, your body would get used to doing it. But look how much bark I left on that thing, and I still was sore. This is going to be the bar top for the railing I already built. This is going to be the bar top for the railing I'm going to build. And I'm excited about that. A couple different kinds of boards. I got boards where they're live edge on both. And that's you just cutting a log into boards. Then there's live edge on one side of the board, and that means you've trued up one side that the log is sitting on and rotated it, and now you're making boards with just one live edge. Okay, so this particular cut will work very good for a bar right here because it's not even screwed in, and you see how it's sitting on there perfectly. And it's a live edge bar, but it sits straight along the back wall. All right, now I'm gonna flip it back over, and I'm gonna use water sealer to treat it. Yeah, and then on this side, this is not gonna have a back to it. The boards are gonna come up from underneath and screw in along here. So part of this bar is really hanging over the edge of the deck. If that makes any sense. And it can have two live edges basically because of the way I'm using it. This is that piece of red oak that we pulled off where I was like, oh, this should make a bar top, and it is going to be a bar top. Now what Jamie was saying that wasn't on tape was how he makes a bar top is he would make it 3 inches thick. He's like, well, you should make it 3 inches thick, and then I'll be honest with you, he probably would do mirror where he cuts them down the middle, puts a board in the middle and makes it wider too. So yeah, imagine if that was like 3 inches thick too. We could do that. It just would be a use of, more wood, right? All right, so let's get started on water sealing this stuff and then make another fence. Some folks make fun of me for I shook this already, for my working on the back of my pickup truck, but I have built 3 houseboats on the tailgate of this pickup truck. This has got a little white color to it, most likely so you can actually see what you're doing with it, like, where you brushed already, but it's gonna dry completely clear. Well, through the magic of editing, we're pretty much dry. And Thompson's water seal is clear. So as you can see, it's almost completely dry here. It doesn't affect the wood. You don't notice it. So I am going to do both sides of the bar. The top side, let it dry, and then flip it over. To have it completely dry, you need 24 hours. For me to screw it down to something, I don't think that's going to matter. The main thing is you don't want to put it on thick. You want to put on thin coats where it sucks in. And then this type of water treatment works for wood, concrete, anything that's porous. This stops water from going into it. So I'm going to actually use it on the railings and the handbars, eventually on the banisters. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to burn all the fencing down here, and see how it looks for a week. If I like it, I'll burn the rest. If I don't like it, I'll sand it off, and then I'll Thompson's water seal it. So we'll see how that goes over the next week. I want to sit with the decision.
You're only one. You choose it, don't lose it, don't let go. said only then you began. Feel like.
Alright, well, I went through and pulled most of the bark off. Like, the bark that was just coming off easy, I took off. And then I burned all the boards on the inside. I'm going to see how it looks to me for a day or two. I could just sand that real quickly and waterproof it, and it's what I did is gone. So it's not like this is permanent. Or I could waterproof Thompson seal over it, and then it becomes permanent. So I'm going to see how I like it. If you look, it really does make a very distinctive grain look in the wood. I also could come back and burn it more and make it darker. So we'll see how it sits with me over the next couple of days. Yeah. Someone tell me what the blue powder is on these deck boards. One side all has blue powder. I don't know what that's for. If it's just to mark that it's a 12 footer or something, I don't know. Basically, I'm going to screw in here with a solid screw connection where this board will move with this tree. And then on that side, I'm going to screw in with a hole and put a bolt in the middle, and this thing will be able to move somewhat. And then I'm going to screw the back sides just like I did over here. I'm going to try to sink the screws in so I can use a drill bit later and put bungs to cover them with an oak bung. So we'll do that now. See how I started it, backed it out, and now I'm putting the angle I want on it. That helps it so you don't start running that way and wreck the board. The other thing is, you can see here I'm trying to go into these two boards. And I'll also run it down in here enough where I can put a piece of wood to cover this screw. Same thing here. Boom. Then you come back with a 3/4 inch drill bit, you drill down, and then you put a bung in, you saw the bung off, and you're golden. Now I'm just doing the other railing. I am waterproofing both sides of what will be a bar top and cutting all the balusters or spindles. I mean, they're not really spindles because they're boards, but safety guide rails. And of course we have to fit in some fetch with River because we're on the property. He gets to run around. They're just kind of drying from the water sealer. I always kind of take the time to lay them out to see which ones go where. For instance, the one all the way on the left it's wider on the bottom, gets narrow on the top, and that kind of matches that log. And then I like the big one in the center matches the other side. I put the big one in the center over there. So I'm going to go ahead and eat some lunch, and then I'm going to screw them in. The last few days, I've been grabbing 2 of these. They're so good. 2 of these for my lunch. And then a couple of pieces of fruit, a little meat stick, and a juice. And that gets me through till about 5 o'clock, where I go back to the boat and make a nice lunch, or dinner. There is to make this hole big enough that this board can move around a bit when the tree moves. But you want it to push down and not move, not break away from the tree if someone leans on it. That makes sense? So you see how much wiggle room there is in there? That's what you want. Just a little bit for the tree to move. You see that? But then when I push down on this, or lean on it, it's not moving. That's what you're looking for when you connect to a tree. All right, so that's that side. Everything's been water treated, and it's connected where it can move a little bit. With that, the tree can move, but this is not moving because it's connected down there too, up in there. Now I'm also tempted. This is my thought on the last railing. See how I left room here for it? To do that, and then to connect on here, a solid connection, but like right here where I can get to that bolt, right? And then run the same type of wood up and down. That means that tree right there will move this whole corner if this tree moves. Yeah. Now the other option is to move this a little bit and do another one of those bolts right here. I don't know about that. We'll see. I kind of like it all moving with the taller tree. But when the wind gets going, this deck does move a little bit. It sways. So, all right. This deck is coming together. I got one more big wall to do, and pretty much it. Now it's official. I got in my truck. I drove an hour down to the nearest game warden station where you can get your boat and your license for fishing and stuff like that. I got my boat registered, and here's all the it's like a museum when you walk in there, all the different animals that the game wardens have. I believe they've confiscated a lot of these things or just found them dead. Here's the main three snakes: copperhead, rattlesnake, and cottonmouth. Then I went back out on the river with my Tennessee registered boat and saw a couple of the ospreys. They were off of the nest and they were sitting in the tree right here. It's beautiful. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Put a like up if you watched the video and you enjoyed it. It helps with the algorithm. Thanks. It's been another time, another place. Martin. See you guys soon.